What's up, people? I am a lazy gamer, as you guys probably know if you've watched this channel at all, and as you can see, the lazy gaming has affected me in some interesting ways. That being said, I'm going to be teaching you in this video some items that can help you be a lazy gamer like me too. Well, kind of. In this video, we're going to be talking about the most convenient items, or some incredibly convenient items that you could buy or work to unlock in this game that are going to be super damn useful and save you a lot of time and a lot of effort and just be very convenient for you in the future. So if you find that interesting and you want to look like this guy, then maybe listen to this video and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's go. This is the weirdest intro I've ever done. Anyway, let's go. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Yahaha Studios. Yahaha Studios is a brand new UGC, user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experience. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences without coding experience or server knowledge. Simply use the available templates, components, and smart assets in Yahaha Studio to make your dream games. Yahaha Studios allows you to create your own games by simply using things in the asset library to drag into your map. It is nice and easy and is all done through drag and drop. As you can see here, I am using the hide and seek template. This will load the map for me, and then if I want to change it in any way, I can do so. All I'm going to do here is grab a crab from the asset library, put that into my map somewhere, and then allow myself to be able to transform into this object during the hide and seek. As you can see here, I spawn my character in and I go and find the crab, and then if I just walk up to it, I will now turn into this, allowing other players to have to find me. I can move around, I can hide, and I can stay awfully still when people get close, and if they can't find me, well then, hey, I guess I'll be the winner. But this is simple and very easy to do. So if this sort of thing does interest you, then I highly recommend clicking the link in the description and the pinned comment to download Yahaha Studios right now and see what games you can create while making those trees go chop. Okay, so while some of the stuff in here has probably been mentioned in some of my past videos, it is a different topic, and so they may get repeated a little bit. So the first thing we're going to talk about is these good old rune pouches here. Now, as you can see, I am now using 3 inventory spaces of runes. Now, with these, I actually have 4 inventory spaces of runes in each one. So 4, 8, 12 different rune slots, considering I'm using combination runes as well. That's a hell of a lot of inventory space saved just by these beautiful little rune pouches. I love these things. I think they're the greatest thing ever, and I'm a little bit annoyed that they don't do the same for ranged, as the Quiver only has 2. Now, this is something we're going to talk about again later on, as the Quiver is one of the items to mention, but in fact, we're just going to combine it into one. The Pernitz Quivers are the exact same idea, they're just not quite as good. So the Pernitz Quivers will give you 2 inventory spaces for one, basically, letting you use different arrows. They're convenient in their own way as well, as it will swap between the arrows and bolts for you. If you equip a bow, it'll be arrows, and if you equip crossbows, it'll be crossbows, right? Whereas these work from your inventory, you don't have to have them equipped. So with the Quiver, you would have to have it equipped, and you can't fire this one until it's equipped as well. With the rune pouches, though, they work just from your inventory, so you can cast anything on the go, even if they're not equipped. They are incredibly useful. All of these items save you a lot of space. They're incredibly convenient, and they are it's just something you can't really live without. If you're going to be doing any sort of PVM, even skilling in some situations, using these rune pouches and using these Pernitz Quivers are space savers. They are convenience. They are super helpful. That's why I have 2 of them and 3 of them. I probably will get more eventually one day. But if you haven't got these, put them on your shopping list, because rune pouches and Pernitz Quivers are incredibly convenient, and I would suggest anybody getting them. They definitely help out a hell of a lot. This next item I give quite a lot of love to, because I think it's just absolutely great. We're going to buy it on the Grand Exchange because I'm not sure if I have one, but if I do, you know what, I'll have another one. That's absolutely fine. The Ring of Fortune is an incredible ring, especially for you low level players that don't have a fortune to spend. Considering it's a Ring of Fortune, you would expect that to be different, but at 1.1 million GP for this beautiful little ring. What does this little ring do? Well, the convenience of it, in my opinion, is the teleports that it gives you. So if you equip it, we're not going to use Luck of the Dwarves, we'll put that in the bank. But this ring has a Grand Exchange teleport on it and a Miscellanea teleport on it as well. So if you teleport to the Grand Exchange, it's going to take you directly outside of the Grand Exchange. Surprise, surprise. This costs 1 mil for this teleport. It lasts forever. It's like a Ring of Wealth, but it's a lot better. And also the Miscellanea teleport is super useful too if you do the Miscellanea game. I clearly haven't been here in a while, but if you don't do this, or if you do this, should I say, you can come here nice and easy with this thing. You can collect all your stuff. That's an embarrassment. Anyway, let's just ignore that. But the Ring of Fortune also affects some bosses as well with your rare drop table. Now, it affects the low level bosses like God Wars Dungeon 2, that sort of good stuff. I'll put it on screen for you now so you can see which tier look it does actually affect. But for the low price of 1 million GP, having access to a Grand Exchange teleport like this is so damn useful, especially before max. If you don't have max yet, you're going to be using the Grand Exchange a lot, whereas once you do, of course, you go to the max guild, you've got that teleport all the time, it's nice and easy and convenient. But before max and before Prif Danis, if you don't have Prif unlocked yet, this teleport, you'll be using it over and over and over again. I guarantee you, it is super useful. And if you don't have one of these for the low price of, what was it, 1.1 million GP, it is 100% worth your time. So grab yourself a Ring of Fortune today, because this is an ad. I don't know what's going on with today, but let's carry on to the next one. Here's an item you guys probably didn't expect me to be talking about, and that is going to be the Karas's Clue Carrier. Yeah, the Clue Carrier. Anyway, we're just going to say a Clue Carrier. This thing is incredibly useful, and for anyone who does clue scrolls like professionally, just a lot, people, if anyone just clue scrolls a lot, you absolutely want to have one of these. Now, you'll get this from completing the quest, which is called the Desperate Times. So once you've done the Desperate Times quest, you get this as a reward. And what it does is it stores, as you can see, all of the clue scrolls that you have. And then once you've done the clue scrolls, all of the caskets that you have as well. So for anyone who wants to save up a ton of caskets and a ton of clues, you can grab yourself this and you can save them up in here. I don't think there's a limit to how many you can have in here. The wiki says, in fact, that there's no imposed limit. So I assume there isn't, but I'm going to assume that at some point, maybe it's like 2147 mil or something crazy like that. I don't really know. But either way, for anyone who's doing clues seriously, I'm sure this is incredibly useful. So you don't have tons of like inventory spaces taken up by different clues, and I'm sure this is a key thing to be used. So anything that saves inventory space, in my opinion, is super convenient, and you definitely are going to want to have this if you are doing clues. So this next one is a little bit different and probably not something you were expecting to see. But as you can see in my inventory, we have black flowers and my enhanced Excalibur. Now this is what I use now, since being told about this, for my bladed dive switch. The reason being is having this as your bladed dive switch, it makes it incredibly cheap, because your death cost, whenever you die, I die a lot. To be fair, I die quite a lot. So whenever I die now, I have these, and the total cost to save these is almost nothing, as you can see. It is stupidly cheap. Whereas if I grab a Drygore instead and load like a full preset, but with this, instead of using a Drygore as on my preset, I save a good amount of money whenever I die. It may only be like, I don't know, 500, 600k each time, but that's going to add up over time a lot, considering how much I personally die. For anyone learning bosses, for anyone who does die every now and again, in fact, for anybody PVMing, if you're not using your bladed dive switch to apply like an Essence of Finality Statius Warhammer or something, using black flowers is definitely a good way to do it. You don't have to use just black flowers, you can use any flowers, I do believe. So for example, if you just buy a Mithril Seed from the Grand Exchange, you just grab one of these and you put the price up, because they're probably not super traded, 651 GP, and then you plant one of these and then you pick the flowers. I'm assuming you can just do the exact same with these as well. So it's not a problem. You can grab them. They're super mega cheap. You can have whatever color you fancy, of course. And it's convenient because, hey, saving money and not having to up your price of your stuff like a lot, and also not having to repair that item too, is just incredibly convenient. But while these can't be augmented, it doesn't really matter too much if it's just for a bladed dive switch, assuming you don't have something like your mobile on your bladed dive switch, that sort of stuff. Most people have it on the top and stuff. There's one thing to keep in mind, but for me, this is a super good way to save a good amount of money. This one's going to be mega quick, because most people are going to know about this one, but I know a lot of people still on streams are like, wait, what the frick do you mean you can buy this? You can get overload ingredient sets now. For anyone who's just returning to the game and you weren't around when this was like a big thing during the patch notes, everyone was like, holy crap, this is amazing. If you need to make overloads when you've returned to the game, you can just buy an ingredient set on the Grand Exchange. So you can go in here now, and these are completely tradable. You can just buy one of these or whatever you want to think, and they may be a little bit premium because it saves you time, 63k. And then once you get here, you can literally just come back to the Grand Exchange, go to sets, and then exchange. And once you exchange it, you get the stuff. You get the extremes, because these are now tradable too, and you get the torso as well. Once you do that, you can just exchange all of those, pop them in your bank, and you've got them all. You don't have to buy the full set anymore, and you also don't even have to mess around with supers anymore. Literally just jump straight to extremes. Holy hell, this is a convenient item. I just hope that they do it for like supreme overloads and stuff, which would then mean that overloads need to be tradable, but I personally don't really have a problem with that. I don't know if that's a bad thing for the game or not, but maybe make it so that they're tradable, but you can't use them until you have the level. I don't know, but I think this is insane. And for anyone just returning, if you don't know about this, now you do. It's so good. Next up, we're going to have to be masters in a couple of skills. Well, not masters, but okay, we have to have 99 to have the skill cape, just like me. But to use these two skill capes is incredibly convenient too. That's because both of these have really useful teleports. So the first one is the Slayer cape. If you activate the Slayer cape, you can see here there is a ton of teleports which go to all of the Slayer masters. You can go to the next page as well, and there's only a couple, but this gives you access to a lot of teleports. You can go to any of these at any time. There's no cooldown on this. You can just use it, teleport around all over the place wherever you want to go, and hell, it's mega convenient. So having access to these is super useful to get yourself to places that may save yourself a little bit of time in some situations, so it's good to know about. That being said, the dungeoneering one is incredibly damn useful too. There is a lot of teleports on the dungeoneering cape, as you can see. There's all of these dungeons, all the little dungeon entrances that you see around the world. This thing can teleport to them. As you can see, we've got more page, and there's another one here. We've got more again. There's even more here. So you go back to the beginning. There is 3 pages of teleports here. One of the great ones, in my opinion, is things like going to the Frost Dragon dungeon. If you're doing Frost Dragons for any reason, boom, you're there. Saves so much time. Any of these doors around the world, this thing can take you to. Like all of them. I believe it's all of them anyway. So you want to go to the Polypore dungeon, boom, you're there. It's done. It's sorted. So you probably could get a lot of use out of this, especially if you are doing any sort of like Slayer tasks or whatever. I'm assuming these entrances are still going to be just as useful, or if you're doing like a Polypore Slayer task, I believe you do get those sort of things, the Ganodonut Beast tasks or whatever. It's just as good. It's just as good. So anyway, these two things here are super damn useful, and if you do have access to them, even just having them in your bank in case you need them for any reason whatsoever, you're going to get a lot of use out of them for 99k. As we know, skill capes cost 99k each. How can you really complain getting all those teleports for 99k? Super damn useful. And even though I barely need any of this sort of stuff, I find myself pulling these out of the bank more than you would expect. So there you go. If you didn't know, look how many teleports there is. It's crazy. Alright, I wasn't going to include this one on here because it's the Grace of the Elves. Everyone knows about the Grace of the Elves, but it's too convenient not to mention. I was literally going to have it as the first item, and then I thought, no, everyone knows about the Grace of the Elves. Do I really include it? But I have to. It's too good not to. The Grace of the Elves has a hell of a lot of uses. Of course, you can put Sign of the Porters in it. For anyone who doesn't know what Sign of the Porters are, basically, every time you do skilling or collect anything, if you're wearing this thing when you got Sign of the Porters in it, it's charged up to 500. It will just automatically send that stuff to the bank. Anything you collect will go immediately to the bank, so you don't have to fill up your inventory at all. This thing is incredibly useful for archaeology. Like, I bought this thing purely for archaeology. That's the only reason I bought it, but it has a hell of a lot of other uses as well. That being said, it also gives you the chance of a Seren Spirit while you're skilling, which if you have a look at the dwarves and this on, you can make money back, but 2, you have a chance of getting an HSR while skilling. How good is that? It's obviously rare as crap, but it's still super useful. Now, one of the other things that I get a lot of use out of from this thing, and I mentioned it a few times in the past, which is why I was like, do I include this or not? The Max Garden teleports on this thing. I'm going to mention it, quickly talk about it again one more time in case people didn't see the last video that I talked about it in, but the Max Guild, even if you're not maxed, you can get into the Max Garden, right? You can get into here and you can sort out these. You have to have a certain requirement to get in here, but it's not max, only max to get into the actual guild. Now, these portals here, you can redirect these to very useful places around the actual world where you wouldn't normally be able to get very quickly. So for example, mine are set to the Deep Sea Fishing Hub for the Traveling Merchant and the Invention Guild, because I can't bother running to Falador Lodestone and then, teleport to Falador Lodestone and then run over to the Invention Guild. But because of these two here, the Grace of the Elves, no matter where you are, you can use this to access those portals. So rather than going to the Max Guild and then running to the portal when you might as well run to the teleport to Lodestone and run to the thing, you can just grab your Grace of the Elves, you press right click on it here if you're wearing it, and there they are. Both of them are just there. Invention Guild is one of them, and then the other one would be the Deep Sea Fishing Hub for the Traveling Merchant. So obviously this can be incredibly useful, like super useful. So I get a lot of use out of this, saves a lot of time, And of course, if you are doing any skilling, and there's a new skill coming out at some point, if it ends up being gathering, this thing will be incredibly useful. We don't know what the new skill will be. It might have no use whatsoever, so keep that in mind. But if it does have use, the price will probably go up a little bit. And I mean, it's just freaking good. It's just good. Like, it's an all-round hell of a good, convenient item, and I couldn't not mention it. That's going to be the last one we mention for today. If you think of any other really convenient items, please leave them down in the comments down below, especially if they're like uncommon ones. That'd be incredibly useful and super interesting to hear about. But other than that, I hope you all found this video very interesting, of course, and if you did, make sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Channel members, I appreciate your extra support so damn much. It helps out like a hell of a lot. You guys take a lot of stress away and stuff and making my job like full time and stuff. It's really appreciated. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.